What's Spawn What Ifs here? This is going to be part 6 of What If Bell Was a Necromancer. So, anyways, in the last episode we left off with Bell and his undead army finally being able to take the... no, excuse me. Finally being able to take the fourth largest city of the Imperium, that being the main trading hub as well. So, now the alliance, consisting of four nations, the Imperium, the Confederation of the City-States, called Danubia, basically the Confederation of Danubia. Let's see, Odin's Kingdom, and then also, I forgot to mention the fourth one. Let's just say that the fourth kingdom is, well, not a kingdom, more like a democracy. They have like their own voting system, so yeah. Basically, all four of those nations and then basically have a combined force of 2.2 million soldiers. And the one who is leading this army is the king of the Imperium, who is also level 27. This being him right here. So he shall be leading the 2.2 million soldiers. Although currently, if we go back to Bell, that is, no crap, wrong guy, Bell. So currently he actually left that city, although he took, using his shadow transport, which was now upgraded, he currently can transport, let's say, 20,000 should be good enough. So, he can currently transport 20,000 soldiers of his at maximum to anywhere where he wants to. So, he takes all of his grave guard, which currently these guys are a bit more powerful, so they're currently between level 14 and level 17. So, yeah, he takes about, I would say, 11,000 of them, and goes back to the main hideout where currently all of his other necromancers and his scribes are. And due to some of his connections, he actually learned of a new continent. That being the continent, let's say, a continent which is similar to Antarctica. So it's basically in a barren wasteland where everything is snowing. So, yeah. And well, at that point, Bell, basically realizing that the army which he is going to be now facing is almost 2 times the size of his own army, basically starts making preparations. So he sends about most of his grave guard, let's see, Rex and Jack, that is, no, Rex and Jason, those being these guys right here, this being Rex and this being Jason. So he sends both of them along with his, basically, how do you say it, along with the leader of his basically personal cult, being Michael, and all of the other necromancers to basically go ahead with him, to basically start making a fleet, which they're going to be using to sail to the new continent. So, yeah. And while they're doing that, Bell is going to be buying them time. So, currently they're at the first city which Bell attacked, that being the small port. Well, Bell, as he's simply going, that like he's not exactly alone. He has his like own personal battalion of like 300 or so grave guard, which are all the highest levels. So simply, he goes to the countryside, burning villages, making more undead, destroying whole cities and towns, making them also the undead. Any adventurers he sees become the undead, and basically going like that. And, well, he now decides to do something a bit precarious. He teleports, basically, that is, no. He takes half of his forces, that is not half of his forces, 200,000 of his undead soldiers, and, well, he thinks of a scheme. That being that the Kingdom of Odin has sent most of their champion, that is their champion, the Immortal Paladin, which is a level 27, along with most of their basically higher ranking paladins. So, he simply goes to the holy shield which was made by, well, the people, the statue of Odin, which basically protects the entirety of the kingdom from the undead. Bell goes there and using immense, and I mean immensely powerful curse magic, he's able to break the statue. Basically, the statue comes crumbling down and the shield with it. although they did make 2 castles as basically a last ditch effort of defense if the undead were ever able to break that shield. And well, when they saw the shield break, all of them were immediately alarmed as 200,000 undead simply rushed towards them. But before they could even send any sort of reply, they get teleported into their castle oh crap. Sorry guys. So basically in each castle 150 grave guard are basically teleported with Bell using his shadow magic. And well, Bell wants this to go smoothly as possible, so he himself goes ahead and destroys every single outpost which the kingdom had for basically the next, I would say, 100 or so kilometers. So yeah, the chances of them getting reinforcements or anybody even realizing that the undead were able to break the shield has now been completely and utterly destroyed. Well, they will learn of it, but when they do, it's going to be far too late. So, Bell uses this opportunity to take over these 2 castles, make them into the undead. And well, simply he also gives, because now he's finally able to make priests into the undead, basically unholy priests. And well, he uses that. He has 20 unholy priests, or well, basically skeletons which can use necromancy, although they're not liches. So yeah, they're basically like Bell when he first started off, so they can only have a select amount of undead under their control, but all of them follow Bell. So these 50 priests, Bell simply sends them along with detachments of 1,000 or so undead to go to nearby towns and villages, to kill every single person there and to make them into the undead. After Bell has commanded that, he goes ahead back to he goes to the Elven lands. Now, the elves, they sent like, how much? 80,000 of their soldiers. And well, just so you guys know, the elves are pretty small in number, so currently the amount of warriors they have left to defend their own kingdom is about, I would say, 20 or so thousand. So, Bell simply goes ahead, does the same thing. In the Imperium, he goes to several churches, killing their priests and making them into necromancers. And then he simply sends those necromancers, basically, which are a couple of dozen kilometers away from the border of the elves. He basically tells them to raise every single village, city and town on the way using their undead. And they do so. And now, let's say a day passes. The kingdom of Odin still has got no clue that there's a massive army of undead currently being amassed, which is going to be a bit of a problem for them, seeing as most of their basically priests and holy paladins left the kingdom to go ahead and face off against a larger threat. Or so they thought. Because Bell, he's a strategist. He basically diverted his army into 3 basically main groups. One group going ahead, which is going to attack Odin's kingdom. The second group the second group is the one attacking Odin's kingdom. The third group is attacking the elves. Well, the first group's main basically point is to hold off or basically stall the armies as long as they can, because the longer their armies fight there, the more of their own people are going to be killed in their kingdoms. And well, let's just say that another 2 days pass. The army finally arrives at the city, and as soon as they come into view, basically coming from the mountainside, Bell uses his dark magic. Basically, how do you say it? Right. And a black lightning. He basically shoots that at the top of the mountain, causing almost basically 10% of the mountain range to just collapse on top of them. And just like that, 11,000 soldiers dead, with Bell using only one of his magic, that is, magic spells. But well, when he tries to do that the second time, he is blocked. Holy energy. Yep. And that's when he simply sees them. He sees both the armies of the elves, the hated champion of the paladins. He sees the king, that is the emperor of the Imperium. And well, he also sees this, basically the main army of the Imperium as well, along with the rest of their allies. And they basically start charging forwards, because they do not want to give Bell's force any time to recuperate. That is, they want to simply destroy them immediately. But that's when Bell uses something. He uses his magic, basically magical crystals, to simply do, how do you say it? Basically in a gigantic screen which shows what's happening. Now, the first screen shows the elven homes, the elven kingdom, currently being attacked by the undead, which are currently, basically, after they killed so many villagers and all that crap, the undead army currently attacking the elves is about 130,000 strong. Keep in mind, the elves which were left there had about 20,000 soldiers. The elves basically got terrified, along with their queen, because their kingdom is basically currently being burned to the ground. And now, the second screen shows Odin's kingdom. Or more accurately, it shows that Odin's statue has been completely demolished, along with the two castles which stood there. And they just see a constant influx of the undead simply passing through there and destroying villages and cities alike. So, after the paladins and the priests and the elves see that, they immediately break off, or at least start breaking off. So now, instead of the army having 2.2 million soldiers, the army currently only has 1.9 million soldiers. Although the queen of the elves basically left to defend her lands, but the champion of the paladins, along with the pope of the Odin kingdom, has stayed there, because Odin told them, no matter what happens, you must defeat Bel, or the Lich, since they don't exactly know his name. And well, as that was simply going on, Bel sent his undead troops forward, and both of them clashed. After some time of fighting, let's say a couple of hours, which at this point the troops of the elves and most of the paladins and the priests have already been broken off, so they basically went ahead and to protect their own countries. And well, we jump back to basically him, the champion of the paladins. He's basically destroying thousands of undead with each one of his strikes, until he simply sees a ball of basically unholy energy and dark magic come towards him. He quickly jumps out of the way, and well, that's when he sees him. He sees Bel, basically a lich which towers over him. And well, he knows very well who this is. The same Necromancer he had killed thousands of years prior. And well, the battle begins. That is, the duel begins. The champion of the paladins uses one of his holy basically strikes, using his holy blade to try and kill, that is, get a hit on Bel. Although before he can do anything, Bel uses his shadow magic to basically teleport behind him. So literally Bel did the Omaeva no Shindeu and basically used black lightning behind him, sending the... Well, he didn't send him flying, but he was basically shot at the undead lines. But before any of the undead could basically get a significant hit on him, this guy, the Emperor of the Imperium, just swoops in and destroys everything around him. Except the humans, because his armor and his blade is enchanted by holy magic. by Ares himself. So yeah, needless to say, it doesn't end that well for the skeletons which were near him. And so, now you have the Pope, which also entered the battle at this point, shooting holy spells at Bel, trying to diminish his unholy energy, the king, the Emperor of the Imperium, and the Champion of the Paladins, with all three of them now going ahead and attacking Bel. Well, Bel sees the writing on the wall. He can't take all three of them without basically getting immense injury and also having a more chance of him basically being killed. Since Bel is just like that, he won't enter a battle he knows he will lose. Oh, crap. Sorry guys. He won't enter a battle that he knows he will lose. So instead of doing that, he mainly focuses on all of the dead soldiers, being like several 100,000. Although he also lost almost half of all of his undead. But that's when Bel uses his necromancy, reviving every single one of the dead humans back to life. And well, that's when chaos simply erupts, because the lines which they had were basically going through the undead, that is the, what do you call it, the humans' lines were basically going on top of their own brothers in arms. And well, when they became the undead, they disrupted their battle lines. And when that happened, the undead forces charged yet again, killing many more of the humans. Although at this point, the army of the humans, which was 1.9 million, had turned into an army of 1.1 million. Although the undead's army was currently 300 or so thousand, with Bel still being alive and having most of his magic left. Although the Pope had diminished most of his holy energy trying to fight off the undead. The champion of the basically paladins was hurt, with one of the undead getting a lucky stab with their sword in his thigh. So yeah. Although the Emperor was still completely fine. So Bel targeted the Emperor. He used basically, how do I say it, black lightning storm. So he created an entire storm with his magic. Yeah, Zeus would be proud if he wasn't a lich. So yeah, and basically that storm causes black tornadoes to appear. Although these tornadoes don't have like a Bel can control them. So his undead gets destroyed by them, the human lines get completely demolished by them, and also the Pope. The Pope gets a front row seat to one of the tornadoes, basically shredding him. And well, the Paladin champion simply recalls his friend, the Pope, with whom he fought in the ancient times. Oh, sorry guys, my bad. With his friend, the Pope, which he fought in the ancient times with. And well, basically, it did not end well. The Emperor tried to go ahead and kill Bel while he was casting that attack, but before he could do anything, Bel teleported behind him and used, this time not a black lightning, but a more destructive spell. He made a dark magic, basically, spear around the Emperor and then made spikes come out of every single corner. So basically, if you guys know what the Iron Maiden is, that being like the torture device which had spikes inside of it, imagine that, but it's a sphere with a bunch of spikes inside of it. Crap. He used that on the king, on the Emperor. And well, when the orb finally basically went off, the Emperor fell on the ground, dead. Well, when his soldiers saw that, they began to rout. The Paladin was the only one who was left alive, but the Paladin did notice something. With Bel using the storm, which he basically caused a black lightning storm to happen on the entirety of the Imperium. So yeah, when I said that Bel was as powerful as a god, I meant it. He creates and he basically gets rid of every single weather phenomenon and replaces it with his black lightning. And the effects of that black lightning and the tornadoes can be felt all the way to Freya's own, basically, kingdom. She feels it, and so does every single other god. That is crap, not Freya, but Hera. And well, Oranos, who is currently in Orario, also feels it. Every single god feels this change. And they also feel the immense unholy energy coming from there. And well, Bel has basically had enough. Bel used an even more powerful version of that spell which he used. Actually at this point the fleet has already been basically made, with the entirety of the flotilla, along with the Graveguard, all of his basically minions and necromancers, having a fleet of about 100 or so ships. But all of them basically being galleons, those being the extremely large ships with a lot of firepower in them. So basically like cannons and all that crap. Although instead of cannons they use magic. So yeah. But anyways, as that was going on, Bel created a more powerful version of the storm. So now there were also massive earthquakes. Basically the seas, the rivers started flooding. The black lightnings also started being more intense. And well, at this point, the champion of the paladins used a mass recall beacon, basically recalling him and all of the other paladins which basically stayed there, along with every single troops which were near them, back to the kingdom of Odin. Because what happened? Bel destroyed half of the entirety of the empire. Half of it was sunk to the middle of the ocean. Because that's Bel's ultimate power. He can use immensely powerful magic, although he doesn't usually use it, because it basically alerts every single god to how powerful he is, and also it drains him of a lot of his own energy, that being his own life force, coming from his own core of magic. So yeah, at this point, Bel is severely weakened, and currently he's floating in the middle of, well, the now newly created sea, because the empire, it's basically in an inland sea. He made a hole in the continent where the empire used to be, or at least half of the empire. So yeah, I think that's, if you guys were wondering how powerful Bel is, that's currently one of his most powerful spell. Yeah. When I said that he was a god, I really meant he was a god. And well, after that, he uses the rest of his mana to teleport to Michael. And basically, when Michael sees him, he doesn't see Bel floating. He sees that Bel just falls onto the middle of the galleon. And well, all of them saw what he did. Evilous organization itself, using basically the crystals where you can spy on somebody. So what happened? The adventurers, every single nation, saw what happened. And at this point, yeah, Bel was considered a mass genocider and the greatest evil to the entirety of the world. And the Evilists, well, they were basically like, do we still support him or no? What do you mean? Well, he's a part of our organization. Well, yeah, but he just killed like hundreds of us, which were stationed in the Empire. But he destroyed the entirety of the Empire. Fair point. And so Evilus basically start to support him until basically Bel simply tells them to no. He will be leaving that organization, although he will be considering them his allies, or at least people with a common goal. And, well, they arrive at the new continent. The Grave Guard simply go ahead along with the rest of the Skeleton Knights to start making improvements, basically start making, how do you say it, living quarters for the Necromancers and basically a new, well, castle for Bell. Why? Well, Bell needs to regain all of his mana back. So he sends the Grave Guard along with the Necromancers to basically start kill any monsters which were in here. And well, soon they find the third largest dungeon in the entirety of the world. This one going 1752 basically levels underground. And well, once they found this, they start building a city around it. So yeah, this city is going to be basically the evil twin of Orario. Any Xeno monsters are going to be present in this city. Evilus organization is going to be here along with any adventurer with Evilus, which Evilus has. And well, yeah. Bell has basically currently in the progress of making in a city, basically, how do you say it? Well, yeah, the city which is basically going to be an evil version of Orario. And, well, he completely and utterly destroyed the empire. All of the royal family was killed, along with most of its population. And, well, all of them are now at the bottom of the sea. And anyways, guys, this is going to be it for episode 6. I know that it's a bit shorter than the other ones, but I hope you guys can understand. Anyways, I hope you have a great day and a good night, depending on where you are. And see ya.